All right, I'm Bud. Welcome to the Shape of Horror podcast. So we are just single digit days away from Scream 6. We've gone through all the theories, what we think is going to happen, and there's really not much more to talk about. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to rank the killers from Screams 1 through 5. There are 9 killers. Spoilers. Uh, if you haven't seen all the other Scream movies, you might not want to watch this because I'm going to spoil all the characters through 5. So let's get into it. All right, so coming in at number 9, the very bottom of the list, I'm talking about Charlie Walker from Scream 4, the biggest chump in the Scream franchise. Gotta work on my uhs and ums. Sorry. But Charlie thought the geek would get the girl. He was clearly wrong. I think he was mostly used for his video editing skills, his camera skills, his knowledge of film history, probably knowledge of all the stab movies, everything. And Joel Roberts wisely used him and was going to pin it all on the geek. So, terrible Charlie Walker coming in at number 9. All right, coming in at number 8. Not much better than Charlie Walker, to be honest. Another patsy or chump, whatever you want to call it. Mrs. Loomis totally used this guy, although she did pay his way to a nice film scholarship, I guess, so he could go learn how to make movies. He looks like he used the film and video department. Very similar to Charlie in some respects. But in the end, Mickey disappeared for a large chunk of the movie. It was pretty easy to guess that he was the killer. The actor Timmy Oliphant, he did a pretty good job. Wasn't given a whole lot to work with, but that's kind of why he's a little bit disappointing. So moving on. Okay, number 7 for me is Stu Macher. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. They're going to have him probably in the top 3, but let's talk about all the ways that Stu kind of disappoints. He's the originator of the pratfalling, clumsy Ghostface. And he has no tact, according to Billy Loomis. We have to trust Billy Loomis on all things Stu. He was kind of a dipshit. You really get the feeling that he was being led around by Billy Loomis through this whole thing. And he always had a thing for Sid. So, you know what? You gotta go. Those are the rules. Okay, so this is where it really starts to get tough. And coming in at number 6 is Amber Freeman from Scream 5. She is a feisty one. Had one of the more memorable reveals of any Ghostface in the franchise. But, she was probably one of the youngest killers. I think her, Charlie, Jill, some of the youngest. And she was the only Ghostface so far to get one over on our legacy cast. That's right, she gutted poor Dewey Riley in the hospital. Very memorable scene, but she was the first one. She was tough. She took a slug to the chest. Of course, she had her bulletproof vest on, but she's going to stand the test of time as one of the more memorable Scream killers. That's why this gets so tough from here on out. But Amber Freeman at number 6. All right, so we ease into the top 5 here with Roman Bridger, director. I mean, a lot of people don't hold Scream in very high regard. I find it middle of the road. We have to remember that this was the concluding chapter of a trilogy. So it was a little bit different. It had more of a mystery, kind of took it back to the original. But I didn't like the fake out death that they did with Roman. It was kind of cheap, but he was the only killer to go by himself. He handled it all. He was a pretty vicious. He didn't have a lot of pratfalls like Stu, but he had a fun reveal. And Roman, he was a good ghost face. So let's move on. Coming in at number 4, Debbie Loomis. Billy had to get his mean, vicious, psychopathic streak from somewhere, and he sure got it from his mother. She put out an elaborate plan of revenge against Sidney Prescott, whom she blamed for breaking up her family. Her mother had an affair with Mrs. Loomis's husband, and causing Billy to lose his mom. She disappeared, but she planned out a huge, sprawling plan of revenge involving finding another psycho so she could fund his way through film school. to set up this elaborate plan to get back at Sydney. And Debbie, played by Laurie Metcalf, she did a great job. We thought she was an unassuming reporter who was kind of trying to cut her teeth on a big story. She kind of had a few scenes with Gail where Gail basically told her to fuck off. But, as sad as it turned out for Mrs. Loomis, she was another great Ghostface. Alright, cracking the top 3, Miss Jill Roberts from Scream 4. We thought she was going to be the new protagonist. They were going to set her up. Sydney was going to pass the torch, but damned if we were wrong. She turned out to be the biggest psycho we've had, probably in the Scream franchise. She had a very elaborate plan to set up her little dorky patsy, Robbie, who we talked about earlier. Real dumbass, the geek that thought he was going to get the girl, but she really set his ass up. But sadly, she tripped up a little bit, and they killed her off. It would have been nice to see her continue on to Scream 5, where she gets away with it. That would have been cool for once to see one of the Ghostfaces get away. She goes off to college, and then boom, a new Ghostface pops up that knows her secret. So it would have been Ghostface versus Ghostface. It would have been a lot of fun. So moving on. Alright, coming in at number 2. This one was tough for me. I really liked Ritchie Kirsch. He was a great character, and it was one of the few times I was disappointed when they revealed him as the killer. I did not want him to be the killer. I wanted him to continue on and be a big role moving forward in the rest of the Scream franchise, however movies they're going to make. It really hurt my heart. Look at this guy. He looks just like his dad, Dennis Quaid, like uncanny. He did a great job. He was funny throughout the movie, just a really good character, and well deserving of the number 2. So, Ritchie Kirsch, number 2, man. I'll miss you. Okay, the top of the list, the main man, Billy Loomis, coming in at number 1 from the original Scream. It just had to be. He was the OG. The guy was very thorough, very careful. Had a pretty marvelous plan. He's going to pin it all on Sydney's father. He'd cloned cell phones. Came up with the Ghostface voice, I'm assuming. Just a really good plan. Glad they brought him back there in Scream 5 so we could see him in Sam's delusions. I like the nice little twist, giving him a love child who is now of age, who we're going to follow along in Scream 6 here in a couple of weeks. But, I mean, Billy Loomis, he's the OG. So he gets number 1 on this list. So, alright, so that rounds out my top 9 Scream killers. Tell me in the comments. Give me your rankings. We'll have a conversation about it. Next week we'll get Scream 6 and we'll get to do this all over again. But before I let you go here, I want to thank you for tuning in. And please hit the like and subscribe button, the notification bell. If you ever want to see more content like this, if you like my videos, this is the way to ensure that you will not miss one. So, have a good night, everybody. Hope this was fun. I had fun. See you on the next one.